ever imagine a world where crime is stopped before it even happens? Like, in Minority Report.
Yeah.
Well, today, we're going to be diving into how AI is transforming crime prevention.
Okay.
Kind of looking at the promise, but also the potential consequences, especially for society.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing how quickly AI is moving from,
Yeah.
science fiction into like the real world,
Yep.
right?
Good.
Especially in law enforcement,
Yeah.
it really brings up these really big questions about safety
Yeah.
and freedom in our society,
Yeah. And we've got some...
That balance.
that balance, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got some really interesting articles and some research to kind of guide our deep dives today. So let's start with this concept of predictive policing.
Yeah.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Predictive policing uses data to kind of forecast where and when crimes might occur.
Okay.
It's almost like trying to pinpoint those crime hotspots
Got it.
you see in like movies and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this actually happening? I mean, are
Mhm.
police departments actually like using this technology
Oh, yeah,
in the real world?
absolutely. So the Los Angeles Police Department,
Okay.
they use a program called PredPol,
Okay.
and it uses algorithms to identify these high crime areas.
Okay.
And the New York Police Department, they have something called Patternize,
Okay.
which is a tool that goes through data
Uh-huh.
to find crime patterns and help with investigations.
So they're like analyzing past crimes to...
Exactly. Using all that past data.
Got it. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But does it work?
Well, there are,
I mean, does it actually?
there are claims that these systems are effective.
Okay.
Some police departments are reporting reduced crime rates,
Okay.
and they say they're using resources more efficiently. So
Okay. So it's helping.
maybe. I mean, it's we have to be careful. Are we actually preventing crime,
Yeah.
or are we just like kind of moving it around?
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because just because it's going down in one area
Exactly.
doesn't mean it's like gone.
Right. It's like squeezing a balloon.
Yeah.
You push in one place, it just pops out somewhere else.
Exactly.
Right. And while predicting these hotspots,
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. AI in crime prevention goes like way beyond that.
Right. And I'm actually seeing some articles here
Yeah.
about AI being used in surveillance,
Yeah.
resource allocation, even like helping with investigations.
Right.
So can you shed a little light on these other kind of applications?
Sure. I mean, imagine AI-powered cameras, right?
Okay. Yeah.
They can not only see suspicious activity,
Uh-huh.
but they can like identify known individuals through facial recognition.
Mm.
It's incredible.
Wow.
The amount of data these systems can look at is like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
They look at past crime records, social media activity, even like economic indicators. It's
Wow.
it's pretty intense.
So it really is like kind of that
Yeah.
that watchful eye constantly watching you.
Yeah.
And speaking of watchful eyes, I can't help it,
Yeah.
think about the potential downsides, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because it feels like we're on this slippery slope, towards this society where every move is
Yeah.
tracked and scrutinized.
You've hit on a really big concern.
Right.
I mean, while these technologies can really make things safer,
Mm-hmm.
they bring up these really serious questions about privacy and freedom
Yeah.
for individuals,
It's giving me like kind of dystopian vibes.
Yeah.
Like police state and social credit scores and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Those systems where,
Yeah.
your behavior's constantly
Yeah.
being
Monitored.
monitored and evaluated. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, are we moving towards a future where, increased security means losing?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to think about how AI and crime prevention could,
Right.
maybe contribute to that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Like imagine,
Yeah.
cameras everywhere, algorithms looking at your every move
Right.
and maybe judging you. I mean, it's a
scary thought.
yeah.
It is a scary thought. And it makes you wonder,
Right.
like, where's that line?
Exactly.
How much privacy are we willing to
How much are we willing to give up to feel safe?
feel safe? Exactly.
That's a question that, society needs to figure out.
Yeah.
And it gets even more complicated when you think about specific ways AI is used in law enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
And we talked about predicting hotspots, but
Yeah.
what about these AI cameras you mentioned?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are those being used?
A good example is the NYPD. they're looking into this technology that can detect when someone pulls out a gun in the subway.
Wow. So this isn't just like a theoretical thing. It's like happening in real time.
It's happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really raises the stakes. I mean,
it does.
This whole debate about privacy and surveillance feels so much more...
It feels very real.
Real.
And while that NYPD example is about keeping people safe in a specific place, the implications are much bigger. You know, if AI can watch and analyze everything we do, it makes you wonder, what happens to our right to be anonymous?
That's a fascinating point.
Yeah.
I mean, our world is becoming so digital.
Right.
Everything we do leaves a trace.
Right.
And with AI looking at all that data, it seems like true anonymity might just become a thing of the past.
We have to think about that as this technology keeps advancing, you know?
Right.
It's all about finding that balance. Yeah.
Between using AI for good and protecting those rights that make us a free society.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough balance to find.
It is.
And it's not just about, you know, finding the right tech solutions. It's about having this bigger conversation as a society, right?
Right.
About the kind of world we want, you know? We need to think about these consequences before these things are just like so ingrained in our lives that we can't go back, you know?
You're right. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the new technology.
Yeah.
But we can't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Right.
And one thing that I saw in these articles that really kind of struck me is this idea that AI in crime prevention could act as a deterrent.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, the idea being that if people know they're being watched, they might be less likely to.
Yeah, that makes sense. To commit a crime.
Yeah, like a virtual neighborhood watch. Exactly. Everywhere.
On a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
Right. But then couldn't that also, you know, lead to kind of less free expression?
That's the big question, right? Yeah. If people feel like they're always being watched, it could really, stifle creativity, innovation, even, speaking out against injustice.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being afraid to say what you think.
Right.
Because some algorithm might flag you. It's...
Right. It goes back to that line between security and freedom.
Exactly.
So much to consider.
Yeah.
It seems like we're really just scratching the surface of how AI could impact society.
It's not just about catching criminals.
Right.
It's about how we interact with each other as a society.
Exactly.
You know, we have to be so careful about these unintended consequences.
Right.
Like, for example, the data these systems use, right? It can reflect biases that are already out there.
Yeah.
So AI could actually make those biases worse.
So even with like the best intentions, it could actually reinforce existing inequalities.
Exactly.
It makes you think, like, who gets to decide how this technology is?
That's huge. We need to be having these conversations now.
Yeah.
We need to know how these systems work.
Right.
Like full transparency.
Right.
And we need rules to make sure it's used ethically, you know?
It can't just be left to like the tech companies and
Exactly. The public needs to be involved.
Law enforcement. Yeah.
We need regulations to protect people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a societal issue. It's not just about...
It affects all of us.
Technology.
Yeah.
We need to think about the impact on everyone.
Not just the people these systems say are high risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of society are we building for future generations? Yeah. Right. Do we want to live in a world where everything we do is tracked and analyzed?
Yeah.
Or we're afraid to act because of some algorithm?
It's a profound question.
Yeah.
And I think the answer really depends on how we as a society decide to use these technologies.
Right.
You know, it's about balancing the good with the bad.
It's that balancing act.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about how it's used.
Exactly.
Who controls it?
Who's in charge?
What are the safeguards to protect us?
Right. What are the rules?
As individuals.
Exactly. And it's also realizing that technology is just a tool.
Right.
It's not like a magic solution.
Right.
You know, we can't just expect AI to fix all these complicated problems like crime.
Right.
We have to address the root causes.
Right.
Things like poverty and inequality.
Yeah.
And lack of opportunity.
You're right. Technology can help.
It can be part of it.
But it can't be the whole answer.
Exactly.
It needs to be part of a bigger plan.
Yeah.
That includes social programs and community engagement.
Community involvement.
And focusing on rehabilitation instead of just punishment.
I think the important thing to remember here is that we're not powerless,
Right.
When it comes to technology, we have a voice.
Yeah.
We have choices.
Right.
About how we shape the future.
It's not about being anti-technology.
Right.
It's about being pro-humanity.
I like that. It's about using technology to make us stronger.
Yeah.
Not to control us.
Right. And to make sure it serves all of us.
Yeah.
Not just,
not just a few.
A select few.
We got to be careful, ask the tough questions,
yeah.
and demand transparency from the people who are building and using these powerful tools.
We have to be informed.
Yeah.
Be part of the conversation. And be willing to stand up for the kind of world we want to live in.
I think that's a great point.
Right.
And it's not enough to just talk about the risks,
Right.
We need to actually think about what responsible and ethical AI in crime prevention would look like.
What would that look like?
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's easy to, get caught up in all the what ifs and the downsides.
Yeah.
But it's just as important to think about how this could be used responsibly,
right,
ethically.
Yeah.
So what would that even look like?
Well, I think transparency is key, right?
Okay.
We need to know how these algorithms work.
Yeah.
What data they use, how they make decisions.
Right.
It can't just be this black box where information goes in and judgments come out and we can't see the process.
Right. So lifting the veil on the algorithms.
Exactly.
Making sure they're not biased.
Yeah, making sure they're not based on bad information.
Right. But transparency is just one part of it, right?
Oh, for sure.
There's got to be more.
We need oversight and accountability.
Yep.
We need independent audits of these systems.
Yeah.
Clear guidelines on how to use them,
right,
and ways for people to fight back if they feel like they've been treated unfairly.
Right.
It's about making sure that human judgment is still a big part of this.
Right. We can't just trust the machines to make these decisions that affect people's lives.
Right. There needs to be oversight, checks and balances to make sure things are fair and to prevent abuse.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And beyond those safeguards, I think it's really important to involve the community.
Absolutely.
Really have open conversations.
Dialogue.
Get input from different people.
Different perspectives.
And build that trust between law enforcement and the people that are supposed to be protected.
It's about using technology to bring people together.
Yeah.
Not divide them.
Yeah, that community involvement is so important.
It is.
I mean, these technologies are being used in our neighborhoods.
Right. It affects us all.
It affects our lives. We should have a say in how they're used.
We should.
So this has been a really fascinating deep dive. I mean,
it has.
We've looked at how AI could totally change crime prevention.
Yeah.
But we've also, talked about the potential problems.
Right.
And that ethical tightrope we're walking.
Yeah, that balance.
It seems like the big takeaway here is that technology is a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
Well said.
Right.
It really comes down to the choices we make as a society.
Yeah.
Are we going to use AI to create a world where we're constantly being watched and our freedoms are eroded?
Right.
Or are we going to use it to build a safer, more just, more fair society?
That is the question. And for our listeners, we hope this deep dive is giving you something to think about.
Yeah, something to chew on.
As AI becomes a bigger part of our lives, it's more important than ever to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
To ask the tough questions and to really push for responsible
and ethical
use of this technology, because it's powerful and the future isn't set in stone.
You have a say.
It's shaped by the choices that we make today.
Exactly.